Good evening, dear students. Today, as promised yesterday in session, that we'll proceed with the next chapter of the current challenges facing Indian economy. So the chapter and the topic is environment and sustainable development. I am very much sure that you're all aware of the meaning of environment. With that understanding, I proceed with the functions of environment. Children, this can be a question for 4 or 6 mark, basically asked for 3-4 marks only. So the first function for environment is it supplies resources, both the types of resources, that is renewable as well as non-renewable. Second, it assimilates the waste. We know this very well that human being utilizes and consumes various types of products and goods. During survival, we create a lot of waste. This waste is absorbed by the environment only, which is known as assimilation of waste. This can be one marker as well. That is what you mean or understand by assimilation of waste. Now, it also sustains life. See, we know this very well that right from air to water, food to any other thing for our survival is provided to us by environment only. So this is environment which provides us oxygen, water, along with this, the various kinds of minerals and also the food. It also enhances the quality of life. We know this very well that environment is not only made up of the natural environment, it is also made up of the man-made environment. So the man-made environment also helps us to enhance our life, quality life, like the various kinds of infrastructure, the transportation mean, the social infrastructure like schools, hospitals, community hall, and many more things help us to lead the better life. So the environment is very much helpful to us, and this you can write when you're asked this question for the 3 or 4 mark question. Now, there are 2 more things to understand about the environment. The one of them is carrying capacity. Children, I must tell you that in this year's sample question paper from various sources, I found this word being repeated multiple times, that is carrying capacity. What is this? The carrying capacity refers to the capacity of the nature or environment which is capable of regenerating the minerals or the goods or any other resources which we have used, along with that absorbing the waste we have produced or the assimilation of waste. I repeat, children, carrying capacity is the term which is used for 2 reasons. The first is it is used for regeneration of the resources which we have used and also assimilation of the waste which we have produced for our survival or for living. So we should remember that environment is able to perform all these functions without any interruption as long as demand on these functions are within its carrying capacity. So there's again a question which is generally asked there in the sample question papers repeatedly. That is, what are the reasons? I repeat, what are the reasons why carrying capacity is important for the earth or environment? So it is very important to perform all these functions as mentioned above. So you just need to start from here with carrying capacity and then add all these points as the importance of environment. This is how you can finish that answer asked multiple times. Now, carrying capacity can also be defined the way it is there on this screen in detail. You can take the screenshot of this, which will help you because this is not directly written in the NCERT textbook. Now comes is the next and the last term which we need to understand about the environment, and this is also the one marker, that is the absorptive capacity. I repeat, absorptive capacity. This, like we have a word that is carrying capacity, in the same way we have a word absorptive capacity. These two sound alike, but they're different. Because carrying capacity is a little more wider, because it not only talks about the assimilation and absorption of the waste, it also talks about the regeneration of the waste. I repeat, it also talks about regeneration. Whereas if you're talking about the absorptive capacity of environment, it is the ability of the environment, as it sounds very much, to absorb the various kinds of degradation. That means whatever losses we keep making to the environment, it easily and happily accepts and can restructure itself. That's what is known as absorptive capacity. So these two are very important one markers, as well as carrying capacity I have been emphasizing, being asked multiple times in the sample question paper. Then comes the various kinds of reasons for the environmental crisis. We know this very well that nowadays we keep talking about the various kinds of crises which have been undertaken under environment. What are they? So, environmental explosion. The second is industry, which is caused because of industrial revolution. Then we can also see that to fulfill the needs of these population and the industrial revolution or the industrial growth, we also take the help of intensive and extensive extraction. Extraction of what? Extraction of both renewable and non-renewable resources. Then we see that there is affluent consumption and production standard of developed countries. So to fulfill the consumption requirements along with the production requirements, we keep harming and damaging the environment. For example, for case of urbanization, we don't need to go so far. We just can see in our neighborhood, that is in China, there have been many compromises made to the environment. In the same way, we can see many other countries which have already developed have been challenging the sustainability of the world with their various kinds of development, researches, and also the various kinds of compromises they have done to the pollution. Now comes the basic problems related to environment. Broadly, if we classify, see, I have been talking to you about the environmental problems, that there have been problems, there have been challenges. So what basically they are? The first basic problem is pollution. As written on your screen, the first basic problem is pollution, and the second is problem of excessive exploitation of natural resources. So when it comes to pollution, we have been learning since childhood. There are basically four types of pollution, that is air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, and land pollution. You're very much aware of the reasons, and you're also aware of the kinds of pollutions I'm just talking about. Other than this, the other kind of problem, which is again associated with the pollution only, of course, I'm talking about the air pollution, results into ozone depletion. So in this, I have widely explained on the screen. The reason, it's very, very much asked question. Not only very much asked question, there is also one very important one marker asked out of this topic, which I'll just discuss with you. So what is ozone depletion? You must have read this in your science chapters in the junior classes. You're very much aware of what ozone layer is and how does it deplete. So basically, it is a protective layer in stratosphere which works as the protection or guard to the earth from the ultraviolet harmful rays of the sun. Now, when it is depleting, it is generally said and by common man that there's hole in the ozone layer. Actually, when you're talking about such thing that there is hole, nothing such looks like that there is hole. Actually, there is a very thick layer which is becoming thinner and thinner day by day. Why is this becoming so thin that it is not able to protect the earth anymore? This is because of the high level of use of CFC. You're very much aware, you're smart enough to know that CFC, that's chlorofluorocarbon, which is produced specially by the uses of multiple very common things around us. Like we can talk about the compressors used in the refrigerator and air condition are responsible for the production of CFC. So what happens when there is ozone depletion? It actually allows the ultraviolet radiations to directly come on the earth, which may cause damages to the living organism. Especially the diseases like skin cancer are very much possible by the direct control of UV rays of and human skin. So many such problems can be released by the depletions of ozone and many more other challenges related to pollution. Now, as I just told you, that there is a very important one marker which I'll be discussing with you. There's a box in NCERT textbook you must refer to. In that box where ozone depletion is in detail given, you have already been informed about Montreal Protocol. Children, please have a record of it. Please note it down. Montreal Protocol. This is a one marker very often asked by the CBSE that what is Montreal Protocol? Montreal Protocol is nothing but a kind of agreement which has been made by the member countries who had ensured that they'll reduce the uses of or replace the uses of CFC in order to protect ozone depletion. So remember, what is Montreal Protocol associated with? It is associated with the check and control on the uses of CFC and protecting the ozone layer. Now, there is one long answer which is very often asked these days. I can see this in some paper. That is, as I had yesterday only told you, that this particular chapter is very important as per the weightage in examination. That is why you get so many opportunity to come across the questions, the common questions in the sample question paper. So the question which is asked is the threat to India's environment poses a dichotomy threat of poverty, induced environmental degradation, and at the same time threat of pollution from affluence and rapidly growing industrial sector. So what does it mean? It simply means that we are trying to reduce the poverty level in India and are trying to control the various reasons of environmental degradation. At the same time, we need to fight with poverty, and for that, we need to grow the industrial sector. So, see, that is the situation for Indian economy. That if we do not take care of environment further or in long run, will not be able to survive sustainably. That means sustainability will not be there in our survival and in our economic growth. So to fight with poverty or to fight against poverty, we just need our country to become environmental friendly, pollution free, at the same time grown. So how could this be possible? How can we make this possible? We can only make this possible by controlling the pollution and the other kind of challenges which I'm going to discuss now. So the next challenge other than the pollution is land degradation. I'm sure you're aware of this, so I don't explain this anymore. But the reasons, and reasons also you have studied in junior classes, that is the various reasons for land degradation. But children, remember, do not write the standard of class 4th and 5th when you are framing the answer. Please keep in mind that you're going to write the board exam of class 12, so the standard of the answer should be upgraded. So the first is loss of vegetation occurring due to deforestation, forest fire and overgrazing, improper crop rotation, encroachment into forest land, shifting cultivation, indiscriminate use of agrochemicals such as fertilizers, pesticides, many more things are going to harm the land, as well as improper planning and management of irrigation system. See, overuse of water is damaging the land both the ways, from underground and overground as well. The extraction of groundwater is also a concern about the recharge capacity of the earth. And two last points, that is poverty of the agricultural dependent people, and last, non-adoption of adequate soil conservation measures. So all these 10 points are more than sufficient for you. You can pick up any of these points. 4 to 5 points will be sufficient for you to explain for a 3 or 4 mark question. Now comes, we have just discussed, because we are talking in brief, so we have just discussed about the various challenges about poverty and dichotomy, about the sustainability, and many more things. But there's one more thing to talk about, that is Central Board of Pollution. I repeat, that is Central Board of Pollution. The central government, for the control of various kind of pollution, has developed a board which is known as Central Board of Pollution Control. This particular board is basically concerned with the control of water and air pollution. They check the quality of air, they also check the quality of water. How do they do this? So they plan and find out the causes. Nationwide programs are run for the prevention, and they control the various kinds of reasons for the water and air pollution. They also coordinate the activities. See, it is not possible to be done only on the level of central government. So they coordinate it with the state board as well. So there are basically 3 tiers where central, state, as well as the local governing bodies are working to check the impurities and the pollution. It also provides technical assistance and guidance to the state boards which have to really work on ground, therefore becomes more important unit. They carry out, sponsor, investigate the researches related to the problems. Which problems? Of course, air pollution and the water pollution. It also plans, organizes the various kinds of trainings to engage the people, along with that to spread the awareness. Along with that, the people who are basically directly or indirectly associated with the reasons of air and water pollution. So they are all made aware by the various kinds of schemes, programs, and plans of the Central Board of Pollution Control. And then comes, it organizes through mass media. With the help of the mass media can be in any form, that can be in electronic media, it can be many other new methods which they generally devise to control the various kinds of challenges associated with water and air pollution. Children, why is this in detail? This is not very much given in detail in your textbook, and is not even provided to you in points. I have prepared these points for you. You can take a screenshot of it, because this question again is very much there in the sample question papers this time. Then comes the sustainable development. See, children, when India, along with the other countries, talking about sustainability in G20 kinds of platform, then NCRT definitely has to get its attention towards the sustainability. So when you're asked what sustainability is nothing but the plans and the developments which is done for the present without compromising the needs of the future. I repeat, done for the present without compromising the needs for the future. So this is the key word which must be there in your definition when you're writing the meaning of sustainability. Then, when talking about sustainability, it was the Brundtland Commission, which is very important name. So Brundtland Commission had given some advices related to the sustainable development. That means the do's and the don'ts about the sustainability. So what they proposed is, the first thing they proposed is, we should first of all control the human population. Second, we should make the technological progress, which should be input efficient, not input consuming. That means if you're thinking of designing and innovating a vehicle, it should be efficient in its mileage, which consumes lesser and provides more of the output. That means we now need to develop the technology which is supporting this idea of sustainability. Then we should also think of the renewable resources instead of non-renewable resources, and we should also extract the various resources on the basis of their rate of sustainability or renewation. That means the more they can be renewed, the more they should be utilized. Whereas if there are risks and challenges related to their renewation and their regeneration, we should definitely rethink about their exploitation, because the presence of every kind of resource on the earth is very much required for the ecological balance. So we cannot blindly excavate and exploit the resource, which are especially non-renewable. Next, we should also think of the, as I just mentioned in the last line, that we should also think of the renewability of the resources. That means before utilizing the exploitation of the resources, we should think of the rate of depletion. It should not exceed, I repeat, it should not exceed. And if it is exceeding, then we need to replace this immediately with renewable substitutes. I repeat, we should immediately replace it with renewable substitutes. Now, we just talked in the last two topics about the pollution, the various kinds of pollution. So, when we are talking about sustainability, we definitely have to fight against the pollutions as well. So, to maintain sustainability, it is very important that the pollution should be controlled. So these are the proposals of Brundtland Commission. As per the word limit of the answer, you can explain these points and meet the word limit if it is a 6 marker or 4 marker. Remember, 4 marker must be 80 to 100 words minimum, whereas 6 marker should be 100 to 150 words minimum. Then comes is strategies for sustainable development. The last which we discussed is all the proposal by the Brundtland Commission. So remember, when you asked only about the Brundtland Commission, you need to write about these points. But if you're not specified anything, you can write those points as well as you can write the points which I'm going to discuss with you now. That is the uses of non-conventional sources of energy, uses of the cleaner fuels which create lesser air pollution, for example, LPG, CNG, and many more things. We can also use solar kind of energy, which are renewable, completely renewable, and there are plenty of resources available on the earth. They anyway are not going to damage the balance of the earth and absorptive capacity of the earth. So the solar and wind power are the best example of it. We should also prefer organic farming, because directly or indirectly, by scientific method of agriculture, we are damaging the land. Land degradation further results into multiple and many more challenges to the sustainability of the land. Then we should be capable of recycling the waste. See, as mentioned in the first topic of this chapter, that assimilation of waste is very important. If we want to maintain the ecological and sustainable cycle of the earth, we need to think of the assimilating capacity of the waste. If you're producing more waste, then its assimilation capacity or absorptive capacity, then we are openly challenging the earth. Therefore, we should definitely rethink over the methods of recycling of the waste. And I would say that before producing or using anything, we should have an option to recycle it. Then we should better use the public mean of transport to reduce the air pollution. We can also use the various traditional knowledge and practices. Children, this particular traditional knowledge and practices sounds very simple, but when it comes to writing, there's so many other things to write about, like our traditional medicinal system. There we can talk about the yoga system, the homeopathic system, Ayurveda, and also the home remedies So uses of all these traditional methods and practices reduce the usage of chemicals which are very harmful to the environment, right from usage of organic food products to clothes, and the traditional medicinal system helps to protect the sustainability. So I would advise you to go through this point very seriously. I repeat, this traditional practices, because everything doesn't come suddenly to the mind. When you read this, you will get very much content to write about, and this can be an independent question. The establishment of hydel plants and mini hydel plants, biopest control. These all are the points which you have already studied in the junior classes of science and social science, right from the age you had been studying about EE. So these are the points which are very simple for you. I hope this chapter is clear to you. And proceeding towards the next and one of the most important topic of this unit, that is rural development. Rural development not only comprises of multiple one markers but also comprises of multiple long answers. From the previous chapter, I counted some of the one markers. I would like to remind you of Montreal Protocol. I would like to remind you of ozone layer depletion. Other than that, we talked about carrying capacity, absorptive capacity. They are all the one markers which are possibly asked. Now, in rural development, the first thing which is asked is what are the various key issues in the rural development, or what are the challenges, various challenges of rural India? So the first is, of course, associated with rural credit. We know what rural credit is. Second is the system of marketing. Here, I must add agricultural marketing. See, when you are talking about rural India, you need to talk about agriculture all the time. So, when you talk about agriculture, one of the major challenge relating the Indian agricultural system is agricultural marketing, because the Indian farmer does not have sufficient knowledge about agricultural marketing, which sometimes does not help the remunerative prices to the farmers for their produces. Then the diversification of crops, which is definitely one of the harbinger for the farmers. If the farmers know many other economic and productive activities other than the farming, the life becomes better. But here in India, it's one of the serious challenge that there is lack of diversification of crops. Along with that, they don't know what is commercialization of farming. They still depend on the agriculture, which is known as subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is a kind of farming where they are growing the crops only for the use of their own. That means if they have a family of four, they are growing sufficient crop to fulfill the needs of the family of four. That's it. That's what is known as subsistence farming. I hope you understand, because this can be a one marker. I repeat, subsistence farming is a method of farming in which the farmer grows the produces only for the satisfaction of the family. There's no marketable surplus in it. Whereas when you're talking about the commercialization of farming, you also talk about the marketable surplus. This I'll tell you in the next topic. Then comes this diversification production activity. That means the alternative mean of livelihood. Alternative mean of livelihood also we'll discuss in the next topics. Promotion of organic farming, yes, that's also one of the challenges, because Indian farmer who used to believe only in organic method of farming, definitely, which was highly environment friendly, which we discussed just in the last chapter, now is highly dependent on the scientific method of agriculture, which is some way or the other harming the nature and the soil health. We also have various challenges related to the land reforms. For example, the health of the land, the water level, the problems related to land degradation, the problem related to the layer of the land which is being lost, which is the most fertile layer of the land, and many more things which are causing the issues related to the development of rural India. Then the problems related to human resources. Human resources related problems are like the basic things which we expect for the better life, which is health, sanitation, clean drinking water. public health facilities, and many more things. Other than that, education, literacy rate, the skilled human, and many more things. Other than that, for me especially, this is the biggest challenge for rural India. When you remember, when you imagine a rural India, what you imagine? Lack of market, lack of electricity, lack of transportation, lack of the basic facilities like clean drinking water. You can also not imagine a rural life as advanced as the urban life, like lack of internet, can be lack of connectivity sometimes as well. So how does all these lack come from? This all comes from the poor infrastructural development. So for me, it is the most strange, I must say, strangest difficulty of the rural India. Nobody can imagine of surviving without the available facilities. That is basic health facilities, basic education facility, and the basic infrastructural facilities. So you may understand and now relate to the problems of rural development. Then, as we just first problem is rural credit. See, out of all these 9 problems, we'll basically discuss about some of the major problems. So first of them, we'll discuss about the rural credit problem. How does a rural person or a person living in rural India arrange the credit? It definitely depends on informal sources, which is also known as non-institutional sources. Who are they? The common family, friends, relatives, the landlords, the large farmers, the rich people in the farmers are the one who definitely help out as the shelter for the farmers. So they provide the loans to the farmers. And the second is institutional, which is a little uncommon in the rural India. The institutional sources are the cooperative banks, commercial banks, regional rural banks, NABARD, and the self-help groups. Children, as I promised to you that there are multiple one markers you'll come across. One of them is you just get, that is NABARD. What is the full form of NABARD? National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. When was it established? It was established in the year 1982. This is a very, very, very important one marker. Now, NABARD works for a multi-tiered system of banking in rural India. So what does that comprise of? Means what does that banking system comprise of? This is also one marker. So what does it comprise? Comprises of cooperative banks, commercial banks, agricultural, regional rural banks, RRs, regional rural banks are also very much commonly known as RRRs. And then the last is not mentioned in this screen is banks. They are not that common and prominent, but yes, they do exist under NABARD. Now, other than them, now the self-help groups have also been identified as institutional sources. You are very much aware of what self-help groups are. Self-help groups were initiated by some of the rural women in different parts of India. It was definitely found in various parts of India at the same time, so it is not possible to claim that where it started first. But as per your textbook, it's about Kerala. Please note, have a note. It's again a one marker. Where was Kudumbashri established? What is Kudumbashri? Kudumbashri, which means, literal meaning of Kudumbashri is Ghar Ki Lakshmi. So Ghar Ki Lakshmi, of course, here means the women. So some of the women in Kerala established a group for the financial support and assistance to each other, which was commonly later named as Kudumbashri. So this is a one marker that where was Kudumbashri established. I repeat, this was established in rural India. Sorry for interruption. Actually, there was a problem in my laptop which I needed to resolve immediately. Okay, so in continuation, I was just talking to you about Kudumbashri, which is a very popular self-help group from Kerala, and it was established for the help of or financial assistance to themselves. That means the women in Kerala wanted to become the financial assistance to themselves. That is why they established Kudumba Shri. Now, why was this self-help group majorly organized? The multiple objectives. Children, this can be a very important subjective question. So please have a note of it. That is, what are the various objectives of self-help group? I repeat, what are the various objectives of self-help group? So the first very objective is, of course, to resolve the problems related to rural credit. To resolve the problems related to rural credit. The second is, this group was also organized to protect the women from domestic violence if it was a pure women's group. Third, it was also to make the women independent, not only women. If this self-help group was made by the male, because later it was also found that multiple self-help groups were run and organized by male members as well. So it was there to support the members for the self-employment so that no member remains unemployed. The self-help group also helped the group to provide with the modern technologies of agriculture along with the trainings. For example, if the group doesn't possess a tractor, so they could easily finance it with the help of the bank, as most of the big help groups are registered with the banks. So they can easily finance the tractors, and further, these tractors can be utilized by the members of the group, and the payment received in the form of the rent of the tractor can be used to pay the EMI to the bank. So this is a very progressive concept, very helpful concept, and a group of people believing for self-dependence. So self-help group is a very important topic for 1 mark as well as the subjective types of questions. Do not avoid it. Then the second challenge is related to agricultural marketing. I have recently seen that agricultural marketing is very much being asked. The meaning is being asked, especially for 2 to 3 mark question. And most of the students fail to answer this. The reason, they feel that agricultural marketing means selling of the things or agricultural produces in the market. No, this is not the definition. So agricultural marketing means all those activities which includes gathering the produce after harvesting, processing the produce, grading the produce according to the quality, packaging the produce, and then selling it off to the preference of the buyers, or packaging as per the preferences of the buyers, storing the produces for the future sale. See, we cannot sell it immediately. We need to sell it later so that we can get good price. That's also one of the strategies under agricultural marketing. And then last comes is the prices to be bargained about the market. So all these process together makes the sense complete of agricultural marketing. So in short, I can say that agricultural marketing covers the service involved in moving an agricultural product from the farm to the consumer, including all this process. There's one marker out of this term, that is distress sale. I repeat, distress sale. Being commerce student, you must be aware of this word. The distress sale is a procedure in which the producer is very much in hurry to sell the product, and some way they compromise with their benefits and the profit, and they do not get the offers which are lucrative to them or which are profitable to them. So to avoid the distress sale in agriculture, agricultural marketing is very, very important. What are the effects of agricultural marketing in India? First of all, there's serious lack of warehouses. Many a times I personally have seen that the agricultural produces after harvesting season are piled up on the open ground and they're kept. Sometimes they come into contact of the animals, like animals I've seen, you must have seen as well, that in Kerala and the other states, multiple wild animals enter the areas where the producers have been kept safe and they destroy the producers. Like elephants entering the agricultural area and they destroy the producers. So it is very important that we should have the safe and adequate warehouses. Then multiplicity of middlemen. There is a serious problem that there is interference of middlemen. Middlemen are everywhere found in India, although there have been multiple rules and regulations against it. Even then, the Indian government has not been able to root this out. Then malpractices and unregulated markets. Because of the involvement of middlemen, there have been the malpractices and unregulated markets. There's also lack of adequate finances, as we discussed about the credit in the last topic. And there are also inadequate means of transportation and communication. See, when there is lack of transportation, farmers definitely have to surrender and they sell their products to the people who are approaching instead of they approach the market. They don't have the sources of communication, therefore they are not aware of the prices announced by the government like MSPs, that is minimum support price. So there are so many challenges related to agricultural marketing. Children, this can be a subjective question for 3 and 4 mark. Please prepare it well. It can be a combined question also, that what is agricultural marketing and what are the defects of agricultural marketing. Now, to resolve the problems of agricultural marketing, the government has adopted multiple resolutions to it, which is regulation of markets. That means there have been multiple rules, laws, and regulations made to regulate the agricultural market. They have also developed the cooperative agricultural market societies. There are many working for coir, they are working for coconut, they are working for tea, they are working, Amul, which is one of the cooperative system for the marketing and sale of milk producers. Then provision of warehousing facilities. The government of India has made it mandatory that every panchayat should have one of the warehouse where the people in the villages can rent the warehouse and keep the producers safely in the warehouse. Then dissemination of marketing information. See, it's very important that the information, the rules, the regulations are reaching time to time to the forest. So the government also ensures that these informations related to marketing are also reaching the farmers. Now, subsidized transport. This is something very unique. I just told you that there's lack of transport. The farmers do not have their own tractors, trucks, so that they can carry their heavy produces to the market. In fact, the costs are also very high. So to meet this cost, they better sell it in the market of the village where they do not get sufficient margin of the profit. So what they are doing is they are sometimes compromising with the profits. Therefore, the government provides, at the time of harvesting season, the government provides public transport to these farmers, which are provided at the subsidized rate, which definitely cut the cost of the farmers. Then buffer stocks, we studied this buffer stock in many other classes, especially in economics of 9th and 10th. I don't exactly remember where, but one of the classes you have studied about buffer stock in the chapter food security. The buffer stock is the largest stock of the country. To maintain this, the government announces minimum support price at the sowing season. It also helps the farmers to get the sufficient price or profitability for the producers. There is also a distribution system to avoid the unnecessary storage and also to solve the problem of food insecurity. The government of India has also ensured PDS in it. Then we also have started with alternative marketing channels, like we have started the markets in various parts. See, it's not always government which can do the solutions to the problem. Sometimes the problems can be resolved by the common people. So there have been multiple resources. Like we also have, we also have developed various kinds of markets in private level. Like in Punjab, we have developed Apna Bazaar. In Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, this name is very much popular, which is known as Apna Bazaar. This Apna Bazaar is established by the farmers in these area. These farmers definitely gather and come together to bear the cost of arrangement of this bazaar. And this Apna Bazaar is very much popular throughout the country for the sale of the agricultural produces and the cattle. In the same way, there are many. Okay, sorry for the intervention, children. I just continue with the topic. I was talking to you about the alternative marketing channels, where I was talking to you about the Apna Bazaar or Apni Mandi, which is very much popular for the people of Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, especially in North. It is very much known. So there are many other marketing channels which are not set up by the government. Yes, sometimes by the support of the government, but definitely arranged by the farmers in that area, which are very popular and very much favorable to the farmers and resolving all the problems related to agricultural farming. Then there is also improvement in the physical infrastructure like availability of road, availability of transport, availability of connectivity, which is also helping the agricultural marketing system. Proceeding to the next topic, diversification in agricultural activities. See, when you're talking about rural problems, one of the problem is overdependence on agriculture. When the farmers are overdependent on agriculture, there's so many compromises made on their economic status and also about their employment status. So it's very important to resolve the problems related to their economic status, employment status, and also the GDP of the country, that the farmers should diversify themselves. So first of all, they need to diversify their crop production. That means the farmers need to grow more type of crop. I repeat, the farmers should grow more than a type of crop. That means there should be adoption of multiple cropping system rather than monocropping system. This means that they should shift from subsistence farming to commercial farming. These two words I have already discussed with you in the initial part of this chapter. This will make three advantages. The first, be secured from the insecurities of monsoon. It also enhances the scope of commercialization of farming, which is more profitable. And it also minimizes the risk related to price fluctuations. Suppose one of the crop is fluctuating in its price, then the other can be the shelter. Then diversification of productive activities. That means other than farming, that means the farmer should also be dependent on many non-farm activities. For example, animal husbandry, fishery, horticulture, cottage industry, and information technology related work. It again has multiple advantages. First of all, it reduces the risk from the agricultural sector. It provides ecological balance. It provides sustainable livelihood. That means there's ensured livelihood and source of income. Children, there are some one markers out of this portion, which is basically related to animal husbandry. In this, there is a pie chart given in NCERT textbook where there is percentage given as per the fishery and many more animal or cattle available in Indian economy. So please prepare those numbers as per the pie chart. For fishery, the revolution very commonly known as the blue revolution. I repeat, blue revolution. Remember that blue revolution is associated with fishery. Horticulture, there is a revolution related to horticulture, which is known as golden revolution. So this is also very important one marker that is known as golden revolution. Now, keeping these one markers in mind, I would also tell you about the Operation Flood. Operation Flood is actually associated with white revolution, very commonly known as white revolution. As it sounds, white, which is milk. White revolution was started during the program Operation Flood. What is this Operation Flood? This Operation Flood was launched in India in the year 1966 by the farmers and the cooperative societies. It was an operation under which Amul India has been established. If you are part of Gujarat, you must be knowing about Anand Milk Unit Corporation Limited. This is nothing but Amul, which is a very popular brand, which was developed under the efforts of Operation Flood, where we were doing the grading of milk produce. And under this grading system, we had established Amul kind of cooperation. Now, the advantages and disadvantages of organic farming. I don't need to tell you what organic farming is, but the advantages and non-advantages or disadvantages are generally asked as the long answer. So what are the advantages? The first, the process is inexpensive, generates income. It is very healthier option, and also the food produced by it is tastier. It solves the problem of unemployment because here we don't need much investments to be made. It is environment friendly. The most important thing is it is environment friendly and good for the human health. Now there's some limitations also, because of course the inputs can be cheaper, but when it comes to production, the production is a little lesser in comparison of the normal agriculture, so it becomes expensive. Then its shelf life is also very short. Choice in the production of season crops is also not possible because organic farming is a natural process, and with natural process we can only go with the seasonal fruits and vegetables along with the crops. We cannot go off season crops. Therefore, there are certain disadvantages also related to organic farming. Now, this topic, green revolution, which I have not discussed because green revolution was already discussed in chapter 2. But there is a key word, that is dash is the harbinger to the reforms of Indian credit system. So believe me, this is very commonly asked recent session based question or fill in the blanks question. So you need to write about the green revolution is the harbinger of the rural credit system. That's it. Here we finish the I wind up the class with the expectation you to join for the last session of IED, where I'm going to cover the chapter 10, India, China, and Pakistan's economic growth and their interdependence. Thank you so much. I wind up the class now.